All right, now let's talk about Spinto. Everybody talks about Spinto. Spinto is the past participle of a verb in Italian, spingere, which means to push. Now, if I let all my air out, and I'm empty, but you know what, I'm not really empty. I've air down there, you can call it residual air, reserve air, but if I start pushing, and I've always thought squeezing was a better word maybe for the English language, but the Italians call it pushing. I can get the air, I can get more air to come out. So I go, and now I go, so there's air down in there that I can't get out by just letting go. I have to push to get it out, or squeeze to get it out. So some music is written in a way that it would be nice if we could spingere, because if we can make the voice more penetrating and more intense, and it'll be less round and maybe have less color or less beauty in it. But it is a very, very intense way to sing, and sometimes it comes in very handy. It depends on what you're singing a lot. But if I go what's a good one? Something like cielo e mar. If you do cielo e mar and you go, now I've dropped all my air. Cielo e mar, ran out of breath rather than let into that one. I should have breathed up there. See? But you get the idea. Cielo e mar, splende come un sallo altar. L'angelo mio verrà dal mare, l'angelo mio del mare. Qui t'attendo, ardente sfida, oggi il vento dell'amor. Now, I never really breathe in on any of that kind of technical singing. If I'm using a spingere method and I want to, give a spinto performance, it's like a turkey baster. I squeeze it and the air comes out, and in our case, the air turns into sound, and then all I do is let go of the turkey baster. And you can't have a vacuum in nature, so it fills up again. I don't go like that. I don't do any deep breathing of any kind between those phrases. I go but I never get bigger or more than what my rib cage will pop back to. My rib cage has a certain shape. When I start squeezing air out, my rib cage will close like that. When I let go of it, it will pop back to whatever my rib cage normal size would be. I don't breathe now and go and try to expand my rib cage, or even way down low in the back. All I do is squeeze and let go, squeeze and let go. It is in one sense a very easy way to sing, but you have to be very careful if you have a lyric voice and you're working with coaches and people say, oh, don't breathe, that's just nonsense. Just sing, don't breathe. Well, you'll end up squeezing, and if you do, it'll put you into a spinto method, and you might have a lyric voice. You may not have the right kind of voice for that. I got away with it because I was sort of a middleweight tenor, and I could do it and get away with it. But if you have a lyric voice, the voice is usually not successful, and it can even cause you trouble. Ah, quel uomo che vi sospira della vita e dell'amor. Ah, quel uomo che vi sospira. In other words, I'm letting go from the squeeze. I give the squeeze up and let go. And when I do, my rib cage pops back just like a turkey baster. But I don't go, la 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 la, go, la 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 la. Completely different sound. Sometimes you want it in certain music, in certain orchestrations, in certain places where you want to declaim. You really can. It can help you to not breathe. I know that's pretty radical. Usually breathing helps everything, but sometimes if the music is really going like this, some of the so-called easier music is actually better or easier if you don't breathe. The famous Quetta Quella from Rigoletto for the tenor, and he goes, "Cosa quella, everybody sono a quando ritorno di vero, se mi corre l'inverno cielo degli luna che l'altra fa." I never did take a breath. All I did was undo the squeeze, and it takes a split second to do that, and I have enough breath down in me that I can squeeze it out for the next phrase. And there's really nothing wrong with it. It's a very valid technique, and it's been used by lots of singers, but it's better if you have the right kind of voice for that, and you're very strong in that particular way, and you can sing that stuff. You know, that's I worked with Giovanni Martinelli some, and he was a fabulous Spinto tenor. And he would just stand there and do nothing and go, "Se quadrigliari fossi," then he would undo. "Se mio sogno si avverasse." But he didn't really go like that unless he was doing something very lyric and very sustained. Before he did Celesta Ida, he would breathe. Celesta Ida, forma divina. But in the recitative and later on in the aria, he wouldn't breathe at all. He'd squeeze. So there's a lot to learn if you want to be a really good singer. But one of the things you have to learn, probably the most important thing of all you have to learn in singing is breath, breathing, and what to do with the breath in various times depending on what it is you're trying to, what effect you want to make. If Cavalry is a good example. When I couldn't do breath of fire in it, I would do the Spinto method in it. See, Spinto sounds like that. Vai to better fare, la mamma sonda, un bacio mamma, un altro bacio. Un altro bacio. See what I mean? I never took a breath. All I did was relax my rib cage between those phrases. Ah, 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 ah. If I breathe, it's first of all a totally different technique, but it's also a totally different sound. Sliding back and down would be great big breaths going way down in my lower back. But the Spinto technique means I do not breathe and I squeeze it to get it out, or I push it to get it out. Okay? Anyway, that's something to think about. That's a little bit of a let's face it. These are all almost specialized, some of these. I remember doing, Forza Destino or some big number like that, and I wouldn't breathe. Oh, to get angeli, eternamente pura, salis nel collume, la 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 la, iatura, don't breathe. O tu che insegna agli angeli, sali si bella e pura, non scordar di volger Lo sguardo sapina e non è la. In other words, it's Yosemite don't breathe, and you keep squeezing, and if you're strong enough and you go all the way through it, you can say you did a Spinto performance. Whether you are a Spinto voice is another question, because those voices need to be big enough to be able to take this kind of squeezing and not end up damaged in any way, not hurt in any way. And if you have the right kind of vocal cords, you'd be much better off taking big breaths and making big, round, beautiful lyric sounds. But if you have a sort of a hard, natural voice, that means you are more successful by doing a squeezing method, or what they call a pushing method, a Spinto method. Okay? Okay, that's at least a thought. Okay, bye.